Hi, Mindful Moms. Jody Barrett's here. I wanted to bring to you an interview of someone I find absolutely fascinating, who is the author of The ABCs of CBD. I thought maybe I would interview people I find of interest to bring it to this group to enhance your knowledge of holistic or alternative treatments. And Shira is a friend and a colleague, and I wanted to bring her on because CBD is gaining so much popularity now, and there's so many myths about CBD out there, and people don't know how to use it or use it properly. So being that this was the month of 420, 420 is traditionally the cannabis holiday. So I thought it'd be a good time to start an interview series, and we'll see how it goes. But I wanted to bring on Shira. And let me just tell you a little bit about her with my glasses. Shira has spent a lifetime helping others overcome myriad life challenges, obstacles, and personal issues. An author, speaker, wellness advocate, entrepreneur, and instigator, Shira was forced to go beyond Western medicine to seek answers and new tools to help her own family survive and thrive in today's complicated world. And is the author of this book, which I read the whole thing. I fully enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I think CBD can be very useful. I know I use it for anxiety, and I was just talking to Shira about using it for my kids who have some anxiety. And I think, honestly, who doesn't have some anxiety with what we're going through? So welcome, Shira.
Thank you. So nice to see you. Nice to be here. I love the Mindful Moms group. Hi, everybody.
And you're a member of Mindful Moms, right? You're in that group. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, for somebody who really doesn't know about CBD at all, what it is, how it works, you know, and how it can help us, basically.
People wonder why I know so much. It's because I've been living and doing this for years longer than most people have, especially because CBD for a lot of people have been three initials or letters that we've only heard of for the last year or two. But I actually started my holistic health and wellness company back in 2011, and I was one of the first, especially females, to start a brand that included cannabinoids. CBD stands for cannabidiol, one of the group of cannabinoids. There are actually about 140, and I've been using CBD in my products, which are mainly aromatherapy, right? Mind, body, spirit, holistic wellness products since 2015. By 2016, I was publicly with them. So this is years longer, and that's part of the reason why I'm very honored to be a hemp industries leader. I'm actually the vice president of the New York chapter of Hemp Industries Association. So I've lived it, researched it, tried it, incorporated it, and now it's my job to give the information so that any parent or anyone looking to become their own best advocate can make healthier choices for themselves and for their children. And truthfully, cannabinoids are the basis of the plant medicine for the species called cannabis. So it's one of the most significant and oldest plants that's offered support and remedies for the human condition since the beginning of time. And in my book, I actually have the entire world history of cannabis and hemp. So I want to just back up for 1 second to explain that cannabis is the name of the plant species. It's one species, but there are two different sides of that species. One is the cannabis, or what people might call marijuana, and the other is the hemp side. My company is on the hemp side, but I actually know both and I educate about both. And the reason for that distinction is that for the purpose of this conversation, we're going to talk mostly about the hemp side, because that's the over-the-counter stuff. That's when you go to Nature's Temptations or a health food store and you see 25 different tinctures and you're wondering what it is. So we're looking at the hemp-based cannabinoids, CBD again being one of the most important. The other famous cannabinoid is THC. And THC does occur in the hemp side, but by law and according to how the plant is genetically grown, you can only have up to 0.3% THC. So the balance is that it's this much CBD and this much THC. And then in the other side of the plant, or the recreational or medical side, you would have a different level of balance for how much of each cannabinoid. I mean, that's a different subject, and we can do another talk about that another time. But that's what you need to understand. CBD exists in both the cannabis side, or the marijuana side and the hemp side. And most of the products that mindful moms would be familiar with, unless you have a medical card, are going to be more of the CBD derived from hemp.
Yes. Okay. And that's what's legal for right now in most states. Some
Federally.
states, right.
Right.
Some states do have legalized, obviously, the THC, and CBD and THC work together usually
Right.
but they've extracted, from what I understand, they've extracted the CBD to be able to, number one, have it be legal and non-psychoactive. So
Well,
yeah,
interestingly,
tell me about
okay.
that.
So in the products, it depends what, let's say on the hemp side. You might see different kinds of products that say 3 different things on a label. They're going to refer to themselves as CBD, but what they really might mean is the full spectrum, including CBD. My products are full spectrum, which means all the cannabinoids, all the flavonoids, all the terpenes, which is another group of chemical compounds. Think of terpenes as essential oils. That's the part of the plant that makes it smell. They're all viable and important chemical components, right? But the CBD itself, it's very confusing when you read a label, because you're thinking it means that it's extracted just the CBD. That's called an isolate. In my aromatherapy, see this stuff, okay, there is an isolate that is just the CBD extracted, but that's because I'm working with aromatherapy, heavier terpene profiles. But when you're looking at tinctures or topicals, my personal preference is to actually use full spectrum, because the way the plant was naturally designed, I personally think that there's more efficacy to using a full product. The way nature designed it, your body wants to receive it, we're wired for it. But there is a difference between an isolate form, that's the CBD only, the full spectrum, which is everything, or the middle ground, which is called broad spectrum. So one of the things consumers want to look at is knowing the difference between them, knowing why you want to take the different kinds of products, understanding the difference in the delivery method, the types of products, and then you have to figure out how much to use. But I think if you're using plant medicine, go for it. Take the wholeness of the plant if possible, or use it in combination with different kinds of products.
Right, because I understand CBD is not all created equally, and you have to be very careful when shopping for CBD to not just get it from anywhere, correct? Because they're
Right.
extracted differently, or
Oh yeah, the
tell us a
processing,
little bit about that.
growing, everything from knowing the farm, knowing the soil culture itself, like with any food, you're right, the difference between GMO free and not, organic or not organic practices and principles, because sometimes organic doesn't even mean organic, right? This is the world we live in. So unfortunately, I mean, it's good for me. There's a reason that I'm also a consultant on this. I work with people and families to really get deep into the weeds, pun intended, that was so bad, as to what we can do, what you need to know about it. But yes, how it's grown, where it's grown.
But as a consumer, we're not going to really know that. We're not going to the store and like finding out what farm it's from. So
right,
what
right.
do
But
we
there's certain
do?
ways that I can
Right. So how
educate.
do we know? I mean, I
Yeah.
know that, you have your own CBD line and it's all vetted by you, and you've done that research
Right.
for us.
But I also vet other companies. I work with a lot of companies, whether it's my product or anybody's. I just want to make sure people know what to look for, know how to read a label, know how to research a company, and also just know how to use them. I am going to go back to a word you said, that CBD is non-psychoactive, because one of the biggest misconceptions actually, in our mind, we think psychoactive means you get stoned, you get high, which is a concern of what the THC component does. If you're using a medical product, it actually isn't about getting high. If you're using a recreational product, yes, there's a different level of, and so that's it. But saying it's non-psychoactive is actually, technically speaking, incorrect. All plant medicine is actually psychoactive, because if it weren't, you couldn't stabilize or regulate moods. If it's working on you on that emotional or that mood state, there is a psychoactive response. But that's not what you should be, nervous or afraid of. So when labels say non-psychoactive, it actually tells me it's a company that isn't taking the time, or may not even really know that that's incorrect, that it's okay to be psychoactive. What you don't want is euphoria, right? So that's the difference. Yes, all plant medicine is psychoactive, but it's not all euphoria causing. CBD by itself can never cause a high. Cannot, does not. And in fact, if you have someone in your life that you love who maybe has a little bit of an addictive quality personality, right? It's not about the substance, it's about the person and the way their brain is and functions. Then for that person, let's say they green out, they over smoke, or they overdo something, then you actually want to take a higher amount of CBD, which counters the THC. So even though both grow in the plant, again, depending on how much and what the potency of the product is, you can actually help. For people who oversmoke, or maybe you're worried about your kids, using marijuana. First of all, I don't love that word, but let's say you're worried about them over smoking. The best thing you can do is actually use the same plant, but use it appropriately. Use the other side of it, and it takes care of itself.
So let's say your kid, or you go to Colorado and you don't know how to use edibles appropriately, and you try to experiment with that. Or
yeah,
let's just say,
don't do that.
Let's just say hypothetically, and you take too many of them because you don't know what you're doing, and you're just really, really high. Okay. So what you're saying is that if that happens, you can actually take some CBD to cut that high.
Right. Exactly.
So if your child overdoes,
you gotta boost up the CBD.
So interesting. Mm-hmm. So if, I know, Colorado and other states have cannabis with CBD and THC, and also tinctures with THC and CBD, like 1-to-1 ratio or whatever that is. So tell me what the difference between that is. If it has a 1-to-1, that means you're getting the same amount of each product, so it kind of cancels each other out, so then you won't be getting high from that.
It depends on what kind of product, the delivery method, how fast it adjusts in your system. There's still, even if you're reading a label and there's certain 1-to-1 technically means a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of the potency of the cannabinoids for the CBD to the THC, but there's CBG, there's CBV, there are other cannabinoids. So you have to go one step beyond that. Read what else is in it. All the cannabinoids have their own health benefits. In my book, there's actually a chart. There's a circle that shows you kind of some of the symptoms and some of which cannabinoids do what they're known for. Appetite suppressant, appetite, encouragement for cancer patients. There's a big push to use.
So almost like probiotics, there's like different strains that you can use based on what your issues are.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about some of the conditions that CBD can help with. I know there was like a whole list in your book, and I was like, wow, it can help with all of these different things. I know I know inflammation it helps with, right?
Right. Yeah. Actually, that's the most, especially for today, like really, that is the most important thing that I want to point out about what cannabinoids do. Every mammal, every creature with a spine is wired with what's called the endocannabinoid receptor system, or the ERS, we call it. Now, the ERS is something that our doctors didn't really learn about, and it's still really not a big part, just like nutritional counseling is not a big part of how our Western doctors are educated in the United States, and it should be. We're encouraging more of that. But you have to know just as much about nutrition as you do about the ERS. The endocannabinoid receptor system regulates and balances all of your other systems, whether it's your endocrine, your hormonal, whether it's your gastrointestinal or your musculoskeletal or your respiratory system, right? So when we walk around with, let's call them deficiency points or deficiency in the ERS, that's when we get symptomology in our other systems. So we have to remember that CBD and cannabinoids are not drugs. So they don't really address one symptom. What they do is balance your ERS, which then balances and regulates wherever those deficiency points are showing up. But the number one shared symptomology of every kind of state of dis-ease is inflammation. And inflammation comes out in your mood, your skin, your thought patterns, your emotions, your spiritual, cellular memory, and most certainly your physiology and your biochemistry. So cannabinoids, if you remember one thing about the science, it's that it works on inflammation in all forms. That's why it's so interesting according to research. And by the way, I'm not a doctor and I have to do the FDA disclaimer. Nothing I say is meant to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure, blah, blah, blah. You see the problem. We're
Yes.
talking about a plant medicine that has a profound effect on the human condition, and we're not really allowed to talk freely about what it can do. So I can share stories and testimonials and give you information about what research is saying, but truthfully, you don't know what you don't know, and it's your job to figure it out.
Okay. I'm wondering if I can say.
I can point to the book because I'm an educator and I'm a counselor.
So on page 81, I mean, I'm trying to listen, all this science is great, but half the stuff you're saying, I'm not really following 100%. So I want to kind of like, for our listeners, put it in layman's terms. Like, number one, should everybody be using CBD? Because we all have inflammation in our bodies, right? From stress, from disease, from whatever. Even with COVID-19 produces inflammation. So I'm wondering if that even can help with that.
100%. In my opinion, literally, I think there are certain things that every person should do at this time, especially during COVID. We know the basics, the social distancing, the preventative care, the wearing the mask and the gloves, the wiping down the surfaces from our food, got all that. Consider CBD the other essential, in my humble opinion. If you take a vitamin, if you take a probiotic, if you're doing things to keep your immune system strong, then why aren't you taking one of the singularly strongest anti-inflammatory natural agents in the world to help keep your system from having an inflammatory response? CBD is anti-inflammatory. Research says it. We all know it. Absolutely. To me,
you can't take it wrong, right? You can't overdose on CBD, from what I understand.
Yeah, there's no way to overdose on something that isn't a drug, that isn't going to have any. Now, of course, like any ingredient, they do want you to be careful, and you should always talk to your healthcare practitioner, right? Because there are some very, very rare and few, but like anything in nature can still have a side effect or a reaction with whatever. Let's say someone's on a bunch of medications. It can slow the uptake of certain medications, because if it's balancing your system, but you're taking a medication to do something to your system artificially, there's always going to be a little wiggle room. But by itself and for what it is and how it works, no, you can't really overdose, and you can't really, do you understand? That's what I'm saying. But you really just always, like even kava or St. John's wort, if you're on antidepressants, you don't want to just start taking herbs just because they're herbs and they're good for you. You need to understand enough about them to know how much, and we always say, start low and go slow. And if you do that, you know your body, you work with your doctor, you'll be good.
You want to just start slow and increase the dosage as you go. And I think, because I know that I have, when I have gone to Colorado, I've gotten those like CBD dissolvable tablets or whatever. Would you recommend that, or I think you're more into like the tinctures, or would that still be?
I love my aromatherapy. I do aromatherapy first because I want to have an immediate response to what I need to do to calm down and balance and regulate. And especially right now, these sprays are my lifesavers. The hashtag is droplets you do want. Right? Well, everybody's so
just use these sprays, and
it's the
and
small.
It works on inflammation.
Yeah, because
just by spraying the spray.
Yeah. Because what you're doing is we're breathing in, but it works on a mind, body, spirit level. It's not meant to take the place of everything else we're doing. But to me, it's a yes and conversation. I start with that. I do take my tincture. I actually personally had a very major surgery 3 months ago. And the only thing I did when I got home, no Tylenol, no Advil, no opiates, certainly, was I used my own stuff, massive amounts of it, 400 to 500 milligrams a day of full spectrum tincture, plus the cream. See, I had 2 discs out in a fusion, and my sprays just for my overall balance and wellness. But when you breathe it in, when it lands inside your nose and on your skin, it's a microdose. And I take enough stuff during the day that sometimes all I need is a boost of my spray just to get me centered and calmer and more organized and feeling a little less like, because that's what my inflammation looks like. It isn't just the internal inflammation. It's sort of it's my mood state. It's the, oh my God, I got 2 teens at home and I've got so much work to do. And, and that's what
Right.
works for me.
So that was my question really for moms out there who are listening, like how could it benefit you? Like what result, if I start using your sprays or the tinctures or even the CBD, like,
Yeah,
dissolvable tablets, like how am I going to feel? Is it going to make me tired? Is it going to calm me down? Is it going to
yeah.
decrease my stress? Like
It
what?
depends on what you're taking and what your mood is, right? We fluctuate constantly during the day, but generally speaking, I recommend taking a tincture in the morning and night, a little bit, because we want to adjust our baseline. We want to give that ERS system enough of what it needs to kind of just start getting an even keel. But that even keel is still thrown off based on whatever stimulus, whether it's the kids or something we ate or just whatever the energy is. So then you might need an additional different product. Going back to the tablets, taking something internally that you have to swallow and digest, just so you know the difference, it's going to take a lot longer for you to notice the effects because it has to process through the liver and the digestive enzymes and all of that. And so it'll be about 45 minutes or so, like an edible, right? Anything you a tincture is interesting. The way I do it is I pull the corner of my mouth like that, and then I drop it in between the cheek and the gum, like where you'd give a Novocaine shot. You don't touch the tincture dropper to the inside because you don't want to get it gross, but just squeeze them in. And my stuff, it absorbs, like completely absorbs in a few seconds, and you don't swallow it. Now, most tinctures have either too much carrier oil, like maybe a little too much MCT, or they've added stuff to it to mask the flavors. Be careful of those, because what happens is you hold it under your tongue and they say sublingual. I don't think sublingual is the strongest way to do it. And then you end up swallowing, let's say, half of it. Well, the half you've just swallowed is no longer in your system in terms of immediate absorption. If you're taking a tincture, I like it going in and getting in quickly because I need it right now, like right now. Don't make me wait 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But if you swallow part of it, that part you swallowed is going to be like an hour later. So it's a little harder to tell. Like a spray, you feel it, you breathe, you pause, you take a mindful moment, right? And that you'll feel faster. So right now, life is hard enough. We're all going a little crazy. I kind of want things that work quickly. Even a topical, like something that smells really good, that makes you, even though it absorbs more slowly through your skin, you still have that benefit because it's doing something on a different sensory level. So that's the difference between.
But you have to take it every day?
I do.
Like build up in your system or something?
Yeah.
Or is it like an as needed, like I'm feeling stressed and anxious today, I'm going to take some CBD?
I personally take CBD every day. I take it every day, like I take a probiotic every day. And then on the days where my system feels like it's crashing a bit, I'm going to add my other holistic regimen of products. Like I'll do, my echinacea, or I'll take some zinc, or I'll take oregano oil, or I'll do whatever my system is saying it needs more of, or I'll make a healthier smoothie. Like, I could have had a V8, or, I didn't have my smoothie with my maca and ashwagandha today, whatever it is.
Right.
With the CBD, 100% I take it
every day you take, but does it have to build up? Like, do you have to take it every day? Like, you know what I mean? For it to work, I'm saying, does it build up like a medicine in your system, or it just like works for that day? You know what I'm saying?
It's not so much of it does adjust the baseline, and yes, you need it in your system. And then some people report that they start getting a little healthier. Let's say you're dressing something you didn't even know was going on, right? Inside. You might hit a plateau. You might need to titrate up or down. Like when I got over my surgery, I was taking my 3,000 milligram because I needed a really heavy dose. Once I started healing sufficiently, I cut back to my 1,500 milligram. So you start to learn what your body needs and wants and how it responds. But you can't, if you all of a sudden kind of pull off, or you think, I'm good to go. Remember, it's not a drug. So it's something that your system needs. Your ERS system is the biggest part of you. So you have to feed it. Just like you have to take good food, you need good supplements.
So this is almost like a supplement, like a vitamin that you want to take every day.
Like that, yeah. That's a better way to think about it, because
right?
it is.
It's a supplement.
Yeah, supplement.
And even if it's a spray, can I just spray every morning and I'm good to go? I mean, that's, I have Shira sprays and I do love them.
Thank you.
I actually spray some of them. I spray it in my diffuser. even. Like, I don't know if that works. I don't
Okay.
know. I spray it in
Aromatherapy
the,
works in diffusers, but I like
is
them.
that
These
not
are
good?
designed for your auric field, like right there. And because you're microdosing CBD with it, you need to breathe, you need to inhale it a little bit. Like I want it right in your face.
Okay.
Life is
But
in
I
your
do
face.
that. I do it. And then I put some in the diffuser so I can have it like longer term. You know what I mean? So I can smell it ongoing. I don't know. I kind
Yeah.
of make up my own stuff as I
No,
go.
no, you're right. And actually we're working on that because I'm asked, but for those, what I'm going to do is go back to the original blends. We are making some that are going to be without the CBD. I wouldn't waste the CBD in the diffuser because
Okay.
once it releases the air, there's no,
Right.
but it's, again, it's fine to do that. You know, the
Right.
sprays last a really long time anyway. They're
Yeah.
fine mist.
And I
So
have how many are there? I think I have 4 of them, 5 of them. I think I have 5. I have one in my car. I have one in my, I'm not even kidding. I figured because one of them is like clear, inspire. So I put like inspire in my meditation room. I put clear in my closet when I'm getting dressed. I'm not kidding.
hey,
One in my
no,
car.
you're right.
I have them, I split them all up. And I have them in different areas so that wherever I am, in the desk downstairs, I have a different one, and I kind of just use them throughout the day. And I really,
Yeah.
it's a great, pick me up, and it just makes me feel good. So
Yes, yes.
I'm
They're
really
keeping us.
enjoying them.
The tagline I made back when I started the company was called, they were for anyone seeking sanity on the way to serenity. The tagline's back, baby.
I
It's
love it.
completely
We are
true.
all losing our goddamn minds right now.
Yes, we
I'm
are. Yes,
losing
we are.
my mind. So if this is something that can help us, and I do want to just close with some of the things that it can help with, even if you can't say it, I am not
Oh, for the
bound
book,
by
I
it.
can say it as an educator, and I do. By the way, I speak internationally on this with doctors, with
Oh,
psychologists,
very impressive.
psychiatrists, attorneys. Yeah, yeah. I'm
Wow.
an
Well,
educator.
I'm so honored that you came to talk to my mindful moms today. I just want to go over some of these conditions because I do think it's important for people to know. Acne, ADD, Alzheimer's, appetite issues, asthma, autism, autoimmune disorders. And these are just the A's.
That's the A section.
Those are
Just
just
the
the
A's.
A's, okay? I'm
Yeah.
not going to go through this whole list, but it helps with basically you have a problem, this can help. I don't think it cures, but I definitely think it can make these
It's
conditions
right.
more
That's a
manageable.
complicated word. Don't forget to cure something. Oh, come on. It's so much more complicated. We're
Right,
not looking at a
right.
symptom
But
and
it helps
addressing
you
the symptom.
manage maybe the
And
disease
it
or
can,
decrease the inflammation,
it
right? Because we know
can,
it
it
helps with
can.
epilepsy and seizure. We know that it helps with those types of things.
Yeah.
But I guess, why not try it and see how it affects you and see how you feel differently. And I think you were going to offer something to the Mindful Moms group today.
Yes. We
Um,
have a special code. It's MM2020. And that's going
oh,
to
Mindful
allow
Moms
everybody
2020. I love it.
MM2020
All right,
and
and I'll
Mindful Mom
post that
2020.
in the link as well. And
Mhm.
what can they get for the MM 2020?
That's their discount forever. That's not going to expire.
Right,
So
but
any
what
Mindful
are we
Mom groups
buying?
got 10% off of anything they want on the site. And if there's any other special, I think it just goes with it. It's not like just one or the other. So I don't remember what's running right
So you
now.
can get the sprays or the CBD tinctures or the salves. I don't know what else you have, but
Yeah, no,
lots
that's
of
it for
different.
right now. We have the topical, which is 10 essential oil infused shea butter, 500 milligram full spectrum hemp extract. We have 3 different tinctures and the 5 different sprays. And I think the special on those set sprays. So it's whatever that special is plus the 10% off. So whatever is
Oh, that's
useful, whatever
awesome.
resonates, play around, try it. And if anybody wants a session, I'm also doing, especially right now, even my usual, I'm doing free consults, just like you are, just people can check in with me. Let's just have a quick chat. Don't worry about, there's no charge for that right now because we need to show up for each other. We need to share our stories. We need to share our insight, our wisdom, our intuition, and our support for each other. This is a difficult time that we're all experiencing together.
Yeah, well, that's so nice and so generous. And I'm sure people will take you up on it because I know people are very curious about this and how it can really help us support our immune system and our anxiety during this time. And I know it can also help you sleep, which is another
Yeah.
issue that people are
Yes.
experiencing.
If nothing else, remember it's anti-inflammatory. It'll help with calmness and your anxiety. And that's good enough,
Right. And
Forget all the other benefits. And then read the book. You can get that on Amazon. That's just the ABCs of CBD.
That's awesome.
And yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And if you guys have questions for Shira, she is in the group. So if you want to even just put in the comments, just a general question, I'm sure she'd be happy to jump in there and answer it for you.
And if there's something more personal or private, you can DM me or find me on my page at the one Shira Adler, THE1 in my name. So there are lots of ways to find me. Please opt into my newsletter on shiraadler.com because I do share. In fact, the last newsletter has Jody all over it. Her book is linked and her services. So this is where I share resources from so many of us in this community. So please do join in.
And they're really helpful tips because I love getting your newsletters, and they're really, I think the last one you suggested a lot of different herbs that we should try, to boost our immune system. So I know this group would be definitely interested in all of this. So thanks again. And I will put some stuff in the chat, or not the chat, in the links, so you guys can find Shira. And if you have questions, and let me know in the comments what you thought of this, and if you would like more interviews with different healers and teachers, because I think it's, great to share all this great information. So
and it's a nice excuse to not to take our hair out of ponytails. Look, woohoo! This is as good as it gets, guys.
I'm not taking it out. This is it. No makeup, baby. No makeup. Hair
this is
up.
Spontaneous grays. We love it.
I know. I could live like this, though. I need to fill this in a little. All right. Anyway, thank you guys for being here and for staying till the end and watching the whole thing. And we're here for you. I'm here for you too. So thanks again.